let's stop attacking each other just for a second and have a real conversation. Is Terry McLaurin to blame? Is Adam Peters to blame? Is this simple bad luck? Are we doomed? Let's lay it all out there. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Full Command Show. My name is Grant Mitchell, and we're here to discuss, once again, Mr. Terry McLaurin. Feel like half of my channel has been about Terry since I started it up right in the middle of the contract holdout situation. And lo and behold, we are back to the meal ticket, I guess you could say. We are back to Terry McLaurin. As we all know, he injured his hip. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Full Command Show. My name is Grant Mitchell, and we are here to discuss, yet again, Mr. Terry McLaurin. Feel like at least 50% of the content on this channel has been about Terry since I started this up right at the start of the contract holdout. And lo and behold, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Full Command Show. My name is Grant Mitchell, and we are here to discuss, once again, Mr. Terry McLaurin. Yeah, I feel like 50% of the content on this channel has been about Terry McLaurin since I created this channel back at the start of the contract holdout. And lo and behold, we have found our way back. What do they say? All roads lead to home. Terry McLaurin was the home of the channel at first, and we're back talking about him again. Now, we all know the injury update from Dan Quinn, which is that he will not be available to play on Sunday night against the Seahawks. So, in this video, I want to go over some possibilities. Is he out for just the week, like Dan Quinn said? Is he out for at least a month? Is he going on IR? Is he going to be traded now? Is he going to be traded in the future? Is he going to be back with the team? Should I be mad at him? Should I be mad at Adam Peters? We're going to jump into all of that. I'm going to try to make the case for everything, and then I'm going to allow you guys to see what resonates with you the most. So, as we go through this, make sure you do go to the comment section below. Leave me your thoughts on whatever we get to in this video and whatever we don't. If you feel like there's points that I missed out, please, again, put them in the comment section below. And I want this to be a very open conversation, not just between me and you guys, but between everyone watching this video as well. Before we get to that, though, guys, make sure you do hit the like button if you have not already. Also, hit the subscribe button. As you know by now, if you are a returning viewer, content is coming out every single day. About 3/4 of you guys still are not subscribed. Yes, 3/4 of my viewers have not hit that subscribe button, so why not go ahead and do that? And why not join the Full Command Discord? I'm giving away a Commander's jersey to one random person in the Discord. You don't have to do anything else other than click join in the link below or in the description below. But I am closing the window at the end of the month, which is tomorrow. So make sure, if you want a jersey, make sure you do join the Discord. But let's talk about Terry. So I found it interesting that his injury was re-aggravated in the same position that he suffered the first injury. He was stretching out for the end zone, trying to dive in against the Raiders. And then in the who did we play on Monday? In the Chiefs game, Terry's laying out on the sideline, catches the ball, great catch, one of two great catches he made in that game. But it's that same diving, extending motion, and that's where the injury aggravation happened. And then Terry was on the sideline for the rest of the game, and we now know that he's been ruled out of Sunday's game. Now, according to Dr. David J. Chao, who is known as Pro Football Doc, a guy that I have referenced several times on this channel before, he's worked with a bunch of different NFL teams. He's worked in different sports as well. He does stuff with SiriusXM as an injury expert. He said that a setback or a re-aggravation usually means that recovery is going to take longer than it did before. And as someone who dealt with their fair share of injuries running track back in my heyday, I can attest to this. You try to come back from something too quickly, or maybe it wasn't too quick and you're just unlucky and you suffer the same injury, does normally take longer the second time around. So the problem with there is DQ said, hey, we're going to rule him out for this week, and then we will continue to evaluate him. We're optimistic it's not going to be a long-term injury. Well, they said that same thing when Terry suffered the injury in the first place against the Raiders. Hey, we're optimistic it's not going to be long-term. Might only be a week or so. Might even, hey, he might play against the Falcons. And then he goes on and misses a month of football. So just going by Dr. David J. Chao with his word here, let's not even say the recovery is any longer. Let's say it's the exact same. Well, that's a month, and we could put him on IR, free up an extra roster spot. And if he is correct in that the recovery from the aggravation takes longer, short-term IR definitely makes the most sense. Now, I don't know if the Commanders will put him on IR, and I do not have inside information, but I'm just gauging this off of, okay, Terry suffered an injury, took him a month to come back. In his first game back, as soon as he gets in that same position, making the same motion, that stretching out, he suffers an aggravation. I would think a month would be the minimum for him to come back. And like the doctor said, I do think he'll probably be out for even longer than that. So at that point, I'm not trying to fearmonger. I'm just trying to be open with my thoughts here. And sometimes my thoughts are a little bit negative. So I apologize if this ruffles any feathers. But we are in, what are we in? We're in week 9. If Terry's out for a month, that means he's in week 13. If it takes even longer than that, then we're looking at what? Week 15, week 17. At that point, it's just, hey, let's call it off. Let's chalk it up to a loss and get back to it next season. Now, the best case scenario is Terry comes back. You know, it is only a 1-week thing. He's playing back to his best self. But I don't know if I'm a little jaded from being a fan of the Commanders and just seeing how the injury bug has been this season. I just don't think that's very likely. I genuinely think this is going to be at least a month-long sort of thing. But that is just my opinion, no inside information. So now let's transition and let's get back to what everybody's talking about in the fan base right now, the contract. So I'm not going to criticize Adam Peters too heavily for offering Terry a contract because in many ways he had to. And again, as I go through this video, I'm going to try to hit on every point from both sides. So if you don't like where I'm starting, wait for me to come back around and see if I get to wherever your opinion lies. So Adam Peters did the right thing in that he had to offer a Terry contract. He simply had to. The team was in the conference championship last year. We know one of the best things you can do for a young quarterback is get them a receiver to grow with. Also, he structured the contract in the correct way. He lowered the guarantees. He added the potential out after the first 2 seasons. It was a very team-friendly deal, one that left the Commanders with flexibility. They're still 3rd in cap space going into next year. They're 5th in cap space the year after that, and they're in the top 5 again, I want to say, in 2028. So despite inking this long-term deal, or at least despite presenting this long-term deal, it was actually really a 2+2 sort of deal. The team could use the potential out. Not much guarantees, lots of incentive base, and then the first 2 years, the cap hit's only like $18-19 million. So I have to commend Peters for the job he did there. It's almost, you know how they say people are victims of their own success? I think, because I do believe Terry's injury is tied to him not participating in training camp. I'm going to say it. Football, it's a violent sport. Injuries happen. I'm not attacking Terry because he got injured. I'm not blaming him because he got injured or anything like that. What I am doing is I'm looking at the link of Terry saying, hey, one of the main selling points in my contract is I'm always available, I'm always healthy. Football players always say you can do all the off-season, all the off-field stuff you want. You can be in the weight room, you can be on the treadmill, you can be at the track. There's nothing that gets you in football shape like playing football. That's what you hear from every player in the NFL. So I'm looking at Terry saying my best ability is my availability. Not doing football activities, not getting ready to play football, coming back, and then almost immediately, well, not immediately, having a slow start to the year, then suffering an injury, the worst injury of his career, coming back for 3/4 of a game and aggravating that same injury. I am connecting the dots between all of them, and I feel like it's right of me to do so. So here's what I would say. I think, ironically, because Peters did do a good job in setting up the contract correctly, adding in the potential out, lowering the guarantees, adding incentives, in him doing a good job from the team's perspective, obviously, if it's a team-friendly deal, it's not a player-friendly deal. So Terry looked at that offer and said, well, I was really thinking I wanted $35 million. That's what the reports were at first. And then it went, well, I want $30 million. 32, and I want these long-term guarantees. And of course, he didn't get that. So we wait a month. We wait 2 months. Now the preseason's about to start. Now the season's about to start. And we're still waiting on a deal to happen. I think if Peters presented that deal to Terry, Terry immediately signed off on it. He was good to go for training camp. I don't think there's frustration with Terry because I think he's still healthy. And I don't think there's frustration with Peters because Terry's on the field doing his thing, doing a good job, being the great player that we know he can be. Even in limited action against the Chiefs, a couple of great catches. Nobody on the Commanders could have made that catch up the sideline. Nobody could have made that catch in the end zone. There's not a player on the roster who could have done it. So because Peters did try to uphold the interest of the team, and Terry personally, and not going to fault Terry for saying, hey, I feel like I'm worth more. I'm going to wait to get a deal that's more friendly to me. The sides just drifted further and further apart, and they waited longer and longer. That led to Terry missing the offseason. So in hindsight, for me, what I think the perfect moment is I think Peters should have been insistent upon getting the deal done right up until we were about, a month before the season or so started, and Terry requested the trade. Really, he demanded the trade. In hindsight, which is the operative word, that was probably the best time for both parties to move on. Because Terry, you didn't know, obviously, he was going to get injured when the season started. And maybe I'm talking out of my ass. And maybe Terry's injury has nothing to do with him missing training camp, although I doubt it. But the way it's gone, Terry's value is not even close to what it was around the league. At least I'm to assume that as what it was during the offseason. When he did that to demand that trade, could you have gotten a second for Terry? Probably. That's my assumption. Maybe could have stretched to first. I don't think that's likely. I think it would have been a second. Now, is anybody confident we're even going to get a third for Terry if we do look to trade him? I would think we'd be looking at something like a fourth. Maybe you stretch it to a third. Now, okay, so if Terry's value is low, let's just hold on to him and let's get back to it next year. Let's go to free agency. We got all this money. We got draft picks. Let's retool the roster, get Terry back out on the field and healthy, and we can go compete for something. Hey, that could absolutely be true. You could be totally right. Next year Commanders could get back to 12-5 next year. They might have a fourth place schedule, depending on how they finish in the division. Might be third, might be second. We don't know, but it's not going to be, it shouldn't be as difficult as it was this season. And with Jaden back, injuries behind him, hopefully, Connerly another year to develop on the offensive line, get him good protection. Again, more draft picks, more free agents, Terry back full strength. Yeah, the Commanders could go out and actually compete for something next year. But am I as confident Terry's going to be healthy for the long run based off what I've seen this year? No, of course not. Also, he's going to be 31 years old next season. When skill position players and just players in general get injured when they're at least 30 years old, the odds of them getting injured at 31 greatly increase. So the security that he offered to the team, again, in the terms of availability, in the terms of consistency, hey, I'm going to get 75 catches and 1,000 yards every single season. Do I view Terry in that same light that I did going into next season if I'm already looking ahead as I did when he was working out this current contract? No, I just don't. So that leads us to the question, what do the Commanders do? Terry's still a great player, as frustrated as some of the fan base might be right now, but it's the off-field stuff that has kind of taken the biggest hit. And for people out there who say, Terry should retire as he's the face of the franchise, he should retire as a one-helmet sort of player, he means so much to the team and all of that. I totally agreed with you up until we get to the present. And this isn't me turning my back on Terry. This is me being realistic with you. When we talk about the importance of Terry, it wasn't just what he could do on the field. Again, it was you need a good receiver for your young quarterback. That speeds up his development. Also, Terry is a model citizen, never makes a stink. You look at like what A.J. Brown is doing. You look at what Matthew Golden is doing. He's only a rookie with the Packers, but diva receivers, they're everywhere. Terry is not that. He's also a leader. He's also the heartbeat of the franchise and all these things. Are we sure about all that? Have we lost some of that from summer to him just not being available with the team, not being out on the field? Yes. Do I think the players still like Terry? Of course. Do I think Terry still has leadership qualities? Of course. I'm not talking down on him, but I'm saying if we were to say those bars were maxed out, 100% we need a receiver for our young quarterback. 100% Terry is a leader. 100% he's the pulse of the franchise. Is that down to like 90? Is it down to 80? Is it down to 70%? The answer is yes. And with the returns on the field likely diminishing because of the injury now, because he's going into his age 31 season, overall, holistically, I personally feel as if his value is dropped. If you guys agree or disagree with me, let me know in the comments. So again, this brings us to what could happen to Terry. He could be back with the team. We could be competitive. He could shake this off. maybe it was tied to training camp. Next year, he's at training camp. He comes into the season. He plays great. Team is improved. We could go compete. That's one reality. Another reality is the Commanders trade Terry. Now, if they were to do it next year, I would assume it would be before June 1st. If they were to do that, they would take on nearly a $30 million dead cap hit. Now, the Commanders do have a lot of cap space, like I mentioned, but it's not, you don't really want to sign up to take on that sort of hit if you're not getting something really good in return. Now, where this gets interesting is the Commanders could also trade him ahead of the trade deadline this season, which is next Tuesday. And heck, that maybe that's influenced by what happens in the Seahawks game. I know some people are questioning right now, why would a team trade for an injured Terry McLaurin? Well, we traded for an injured Marshawn Lattimore at the deadline last year. And we gave them, I think, a third, a fourth, and a sixth, or a third, a fourth, and a seventh, whatever the package was. We did make that trade because we viewed ourselves as contenders. We didn't need Lattimore to come in and be the long-term future. We also didn't need him that week exactly. We said, no, this is somebody who, when we get to the playoffs, we could use him. Is there a contending team out there that views Terry in the same light? Dude, we'll give you till like week 17 to heal up. We just need you to get a couple of games in at the end of the year, show that you're sharp, and then we move into playoffs, and that's where you make the difference. That's something that's interesting. Now, we'd take on a $19 million dead cap hit this season, but we already have $30 million in cap space, and we're not signing free agents in the middle of the year. So that would be fine. We would also take on that $30 million dead cap hit next year, but if we get good draft picks, if we get players back out of it, it's almost like we are purchasing those returns for the dead cap money. So all in all, I think there's just, I can understand why people would be frustrated with Adam Peters, but I do think he did the right thing offering the contract. I do understand why people are frustrated with Terry, but he didn't ask to get injured. I think it was almost just a perfect storm of a storm. It just ended up being the worst possible scenario, how it played out. And now we're struggling to assign blame to one party because that's what we do as humans. When something goes wrong, we want to say, oh, it's this person's fault. This person did this. The reality is, I think all parties bear some responsibility. People are looking back on this like, man, we should have got this deal done sooner. And if they had done that, if they had gotten the deal done sooner, if they had just traded Terry, I think everybody's in a healthier and happier situation right now. But this is the reality of where we are. So Adam Peters got some important decisions to make ahead of that trade deadline. And even beyond that, going into the offseason, what are the plans? We trade in Terry. We keep in Terry. We got faith in him. How do we build the roster? Questions that we were waiting to get the answers to. But guys, if you do have answers yourself, make sure you put them in the comment section below. I'll be reading and responding to as many as I possibly can. I am going to head out of here, but I appreciate you all joining me. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day.